Hi folks, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Natasha and I do book things here. Today's video is a new series on this channel and it's titled Third Thursday. The reason why it's called Third Thursday is because it is the third Thursday of every month. I'm going to rant about something book related, booktube related, maybe some conspiracies that I have kicking around about books. One video a month where I'm going to rant about something. Now the reason why it's called Third Thursday instead of just spelled properly is because I originally was going to title this Turd Thursday, where I talk about something that I think is a giant pile of steaming turd, but instead I decided not to get instantly demonetized and we're just going to go with Third Thursday. But just understand that if you're watching this, its original name is Third Thursday, so there's that. There you go. I'm going to be talking more deeply than ever before about what I consider to be the worst book that I've ever read, and that is Hot Pterodactyl Boyfriend by Alan Cumin. How was this ever made? Why was this book created? Why was it picked up by a publisher? I kind of thought that I tore a new asshole in that video. Upon sort of like sitting and thinking with my thoughts, I decided to go on what I considered like a Twitter Google deep dive and really find out the author's intention behind making this book and how it was actually made. So that's pretty much what this video is going to be about. I do have some conspiracies here. I have some interesting things that I'm going to talk about this book, and I hope you guys are interested. Because when I started searching a little deeper, I found out quite a bit more interesting things about this. Let's talk about it, shall we? If you haven't watched my wrap-up or my worst video of 2017, you may not know what this book is about. This is a book that I read. I rated it a 1 star. I barely finished it. It's literally a book about a hot pterodactyl boyfriend. This bird guy flies down into this high school, everyone in the town loves him. It really honestly makes no sense. Please go watch those other videos. I'll have them linked down below if you want to hear me talk about like the plot, what little plot there is. So I don't know, I just kind of felt bad ripping into this book without really knowing the author's intentions. Google this guy, Google hot pterodactyl boyfriend. I went on Twitter just to kind of see what was going on. The first thing I wanted to see was, are there other people out there that also think that this book is trash? The answer is like an overwhelming yeah, like very much so. If you go to the Goodreads, which I'll leave linked down below, when I first read it, a 2.2 on Goodreads, which is not a good rating. The ratings on there are like a 1 star or 2 star. A lot of them are 1 stars DNF. So I have about 2 pages of notes about this book. So what I ended up actually finding on Twitter, this is just some of like the buzzwords that people have used when discussing this book. Bizarre, what the fuck, what the hell, I have to know why it was published, worst book of 2016, I couldn't do it, it's painful. Is it as bad as the reviewers say? It's as cringeworthy as expected. Excuse me as I pour wine and cry as I remember that this book exists. That's just some of the Twitter things that I sort of saw just kind of scrolling through the hashtag. So it's kind of like, okay, clearly I'm not the only one that thinks that this book is horrible. As I started scrolling further and further, I ended up finding a bunch of articles which really sort of clued me in as to what this book really is and why Alan wrote this book. Find an article where they interview Alan and he does talk about why he wrote this book and where the idea came for it. And it turns out that he had a novel that he'd been working on for several years and just continued to sort of scrap the idea. And he wrote it talking about like a blue heron bird, and it was supposed to be like an adult novel all about birds. He's written several other works. I haven't read any of his other works, so I really can't judge on anything but this. But he was working on this idea when he went to a conference hosted by Libre, or Libre was speaking at this conference. For those of you who may not be aware, Libre wrote one of my favorite series, The Diviners. So like Lair of Dreams, these books are absolutely fantastic. She's a wonderful author. And then the first article that I found just kind of said that he went to a conference where Libre was there. And then what she's quoted as saying is, don't go writing your hot pterodactyl boyfriend novel. And he kind of took that and ran with it and sort of like, I thought, made it a joke, right? I heard about that before I picked up this book, so I thought, okay, threw out this idea, he took it as a joke, you know, this book is gonna be a parody, it's gonna be like, haha, I wrote like a teenage YA book about a hot pterodactyl boyfriend. But no, like this book is serious, there's no real comedy aspect to this, there's no real parody to this. And so that's when I started to, again, get a little deeper. I was like, okay, what is his connection to Libba Bray? Like, what is, you know, what sort of happened here? Like, what was the dialogue that took place between these two authors to get this idea made? Because this book is so bad. Why? You know, that's mostly the question I had in my head when I was like researching this. It was like, why was this made? I ended up finding another article where it said it wasn't just a random meetup. It was actually a conference that talked about marketing trends for authors. When I heard that, that's when all the bells kind of went off and went ding, 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 ding. So what she was actually saying in this lecture was telling authors, don't go chasing the newest YA trends. And that's when she said, don't go write your hot pterodactyl boyfriend novel. And she said it just randomly. She said it a couple times during the speech. And then Alan's been quoted as saying, like, I was the only one in the room that thought that that was brilliant. And he approached her after and said, I kind of want to write that. And she's like, go for it, bud. So knowing now that that lecture was about marketing, I see it less as a funny idea that like she kind of said and he took it and ran with it, as much as like, you know, the bells went off in his head and said, okay, watch me market this book. And that is why I think that this book was made. Not as a haha hot pterodactyl boyfriend book, not as a serious hot pterodactyl boyfriend book, but as a literal, like, watch me market this fucking turd. I don't see him writing it even as like a surrealist book, which he has been mentioned after, saying that like it's very Kafkaesque and da 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 da. I don't even see it as that. I see him as literally making this book to see if he can make money off of marketing this book. And that's again when I started to dive a little bit deeper and find out, okay, like, why was this picked up by a publisher? How was it marketed? Was he successful in marketing this book and chasing those marketing trends as Libba Bray was sort of discussing that day? That's when I found sort of some more interesting things about this book. The question that I mentioned in my original video was, how was this picked up by publishers? Because this is published by a publishing house, and I just kind of thought, how? I did find out a tweet from an author who is an award-winning children's author named Sarah Webb, and she tweeted that Hot Pterodactyl Boyfriend was rejected by 18 publishers before there was a bidding war between 3 publishers at this convention for writers. The fact that this book was like denied by 18 publishers leads me to believe that those 18 publishers actually read the book. That's kind of what I'm thinking there. And you know, denied it sort of outright and went like, no, we don't want this. But I think by the time that 18 of them denied it, maybe he actually marketed this book, or the publishers kind of thought of it as, okay, let's see how well we can market this. Let's see how well we can sell this, just based off of like marketing tactics. You know, having a catchy name, having a colorful cover. The UK cover is kind of amazing, I'm not gonna lie. This one I thought was so interesting in the bookstore. It's one of the reasons why it caught my eye. You know, like, it's just, it's a visually catching novel, right? I personally think that the 3 publishers kind of battled over it. Either there were a bunch of bored people that day and went, fuck it, let's see if we can sell this shit. Or, you know, they saw it as, okay, let's do this a little bit as a social experiment and see just how well we can market this book. I don't know, that's kind of my theory on that. Let me know what you think. But moving on. But I mean, good for him, he found a place to publish it. That's awesome. And I started clicking on the articles that said things that were positive about this book, because by that point I had already read, you know, the Goodreads blurb that said like what this book's about. You know, I rolled my eyes at it because I was like, I read it, clearly it's not about that. But what I found kind of funny, when I clicked on Twitter articles about this or Google articles that I found, it was all from publishers, and none of them to me had actually read the book. Every single one that I clicked on that said, this book is the hot new book for 2016, or this is in the top children's book that you need to read this year. Every single one of them had copy and pasted the exact blurb that was on Goodreads. None of them put like, hey, this is blah blah blah, like anything different. It's literally just copy and pasting the Goodreads blurb. May have just, you know, added it in as, you know, this is a book that we got paid to talk about, or you know, anything like that. That's the reason why this is on this list. Simon Teen Canada, it was listed as hilarious and relatable. Then I clicked on it and it's literally just the Goodreads blurb. 49th Shelf said books of the year for young readers. It's the exact blurb from Goodreads. Simon & Schuster Canada tweeted that Hot Pterodactyl Boyfriend is named one of the best YA books of 2016. I clicked on that link. That link is now not able to be found. I tried to find it. Can't find it. So yeah, to me that just looks a little fishy that, you know, none of them have any sort of different opinion on it. None of them have like a different blurb about the book that isn't something that has been already copy and pasted. I just found that like a little bit weird, but yet it's still on all of these lists promoting it, saying like books you should read, the top books of 2016, top books for kids. It's just, I don't know, I find it kind of interesting. So the only other thing that I could really find out about this book was a couple of pictures from an actual publishing house where a group of their team went out into the public with like the purple noses, which is basically what happens when the pterodactyl boy has sex with people. None of these people have read this book. They all went into work that day and someone said, okay folks, we're painting you with purple noses today. You're hitting the streets to promote this book that none of you have read. No, you better do that because that's part of your job. I have the pictures that I found and none of these people, like, you know, one person is holding this book like, sitting in a bus like, oh great, today's something I had to do for work. You know, these people get home at the end of the day, it's like, oh, what did you do for work today? Oh yeah, I painted my nose purple. Like, I don't think any of them actually read it and went, oh yeah, it means that I had pterodactyl sex with this teenage boy. So yeah, that's kind of the stuff that I found. The only other thing I found was that he did win an award for this. He won $20,000 for this book. I don't know the books that he was up against. I don't know how that happened, but there's that. And yeah, so what is the takeaway of this? Why did I come on here to rant? I don't know. I went a little crazy thinking about how this book was made. I wanted to share with you guys some of the things I found and I guess kind of like open up the discussion that, you know, don't believe everything that you see. If you see a book that's just been highly talked about and you are kind of thinking like, why? Or if you read a book that has low ratings and you think it is this like a pile of garbage, do a little bit more research as to why it was made. Because, you know, like, to me, this is very obviously like a social experiment on marketing. It obviously paid off for him. He made some money off this book. He sold it. He got it in bookstores. He won an award. It worked. And it all started out with a silly idea about how to market a book called Hot Pterodactyl Boyfriend. You know, I mean, good job to you, Alan. I'm sure you're a lovely person. You obviously wrote a book and made a lot of money off of it, so, you know, good on you. If you're doing it as just a big joke and like a haha to like, you know, people, then congrats. It's sitting in my shelves, so you got me to buy it, so let me know in the comments down below if you've ever heard anything a little bit similar to that, like, you know, a book that was started as a silly idea kind of took off. I love researching stuff like that. Maybe next month I'll figure out why that Sasha Grey book was written. I don't know, maybe I'll just deep dive into bad books. That will be that. Or I'll rant about something else next month, who knows. I guess the sort of redeeming quality to this is that if he in fact did this as a marketing tactic, it worked. And so, as much as I hate this book, that's also kind of brilliant, so, you know, good on him. So, I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Yeah. So that is the end of Hot Pterodactyl Boyfriend. I am no longer going to be talking about this book. It is going to go back on my shelf though now. I think it holds itself a place on my shelf just because I've done hours of research into this. Maybe it'll just stick right there for a little while. So yeah, I do hope you guys enjoyed this. I know there's really no point to it. I just wanted to ramble about stuff. If you guys watch this, then good on you. Until my next video, I will talk to all of you soon. Bye!